Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the reigning world champion, the Frenchman from Team Liquid in the red. It's Clem. Facing off against arguably the best Protoss player in the world, we have MaxPax. In a best of 7, Terran versus Protoss Grand Finals to the WardiTV Spring Championships. And because of his victory over Clem in the winner's bracket, MaxPax will be starting off with 1 point on the board, which is coincidentally the amount of times I'd love you to smash that like button. Or maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,618 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As Clem sends his first Reaper across, looking for the Adept. Oh my. He's hiding from the Adept Shade because the Shade, with the Shade over its eyes, less vision when it's in Shade mode. He doesn't know about the Reaper, but the Reaper knows about him. So waiting for the opportunity to dart in unseen. And meanwhile, back at home, a little uncharacteristic out of Clem. Going for a 1-rack expand with a bunker, already covering all his bases, but the probe tapped the SCV on the shoulder, and that means the Adept can 2-shot it, takes a shot. What a save! Uses the command center in the split second before the orbital command starts, and then pops into the bunker. Even the first SCV, the Adept did... Okay, well, after all that, he just lets the Adept in. I'm not sure if this is a locked in here with you situation, as the Hellion pops out at that exact moment. He tries to save the SCV by popping it into the refinery at that exact second. Doesn't quite do so. But if I was Clem, I'd just play it off like that was totally intended. We got rid of the scouting. There's no more info. Of course, he did scout everything in the main. He knows there's a Hellion, a factory, a starport. But since these two have played each other more than probably most of the people watching this have played ladder games ever, they played over 500 times in professional matches in the last year. All right, I'd be surprised if we had over 1% of people playing over 500 ladder matches in the last year. But I'm not here to judge, because otherwise you wouldn't have as much time to watch. So, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. But, blink and you'll miss it. As already... Blink is on the way. Quite a quick blink out of MaxPax. It's going to be done 4:45, 4:50. Anything before that 5-minute mark is certainly focused on it. And Clem, besides that first scouting Hellion, immediately headed towards the siege tanks, making sure he has the basic defense. A very quick third base out of MaxPax so far. But that doesn't lessen the intent to get damage done with the blink stock. Okay, it doesn't lessen the intent, but it does lessen the capability, because spending 400 minerals on another base obviously cuts into your economic prospects. But what I mean is there's a warp prism coming across, blink done quickly, so MaxPax still wants to keep Clem bottled up as possible, which is always a good idea, but better in theory than practice. With enough stalkers to make sure he stays at home, ideally at least until stim is done. So 4 stalkers and a prism. A very high effort yet effective form of harass. SCV takes a chip on the shoulder, then goes to build a supply depot, just shrugging it off. MaxPax actually cutting several probes in order to make sure he can get everything else out on time, which means Clem is caught up within just a few workers. Of course, that's going to change soon with the 3rd Nexus already complete. We got +1 attack and charge on the way behind it. MaxPax going for the more brute force style. He's got 3 gates going up to 6. And, oof, Marauder comes out, knocks out auto turret. Will just incidentally take down the Observer. Ghetto Blink and back the Stalkers with a prism. Taps the Raven just a little bit, but completely shut down. Meanwhile, the Reaper Hellion pokes in and gets a couple probes, forcing in some Warpins back at home as well. So Clem keeping tabs and chipping away at MaxPax's economic advantage while building up a potentially strong army. The triple threat is on the way. He's building another Reaper. That has to be a misclick, right? Maybe. But Stim, Combat Shield, and +1. These are the 3 most important upgrades for the Bio Army to get damage done. Each of them exponentially increasing the amount... Okay, 2 Reapers? No way. Alright, that has to be... Now, we're doing Reaper Marauder now. The micro potential is off the charts. No, I doubt it. Meanwhile, MaxPax with a robotics bay on the way. Colossi will be the choice, but if you try to go Colossi too early, you try to go too tall and not be wide enough, well, you just don't have the sheer amount of units you need to deal with Clem's army. Colossi are great, but you can micro against them. Microing against a flood of charge lots is a lot more difficult. So MaxPax trying to make sure he has the gateway count in order to deal with the ground army and allow the Colossi to be the power unit they deserve to be, and not just like a fancy tripod with shiny eyes. +1 ground weapons about to complete the Warp Prism. The Raven keeping a very close eye. Okay, well that's a bit rude. The Warp Prism, the Raven literally staring at it. No capability to damage it until it goes over something it can drop some auto turrets on, maybe. And there he goes, slaps a couple down. Clem actually dragged back, almost surprised by the fact the Warp Prism comes back in. 9 SCVs dead. Quite a surprising number considering. But the double drop, the blink was already used, so the medevacs likely will get away safely. Cancels the 4th base. Not a significant blow, but it all adds up. Another double drop headed over to the right flank. 3 charge lots in position. I'm not sure if they spotted the drop. There's no observer on that side of the map, though a spylon is in place. Some of the charge lot counterattacks getting caught. A Viking is chasing down the Prism. The Prism is so important here, but it will likely, yes, taken out of the sky. 3 charge lots before force the SCVs out of the 3rd. MaxPax has a 10 worker advantage. He's working on Colossi. Just now, the Viking count growing. The Spylon will be taken down by the double drop. So Clem, he has the army supply. But as the Colossus count grows with extended thermal lance especially, the ability of straight-up bio to deal with this is becoming less and less likely. But MaxPax trying to toe the line. There's a reason he doesn't have that many probes, despite the extra bases. He needs to warp in as many units as possible. He needs to buffer for his Colossi to allow them to be that sort of unit that can carry him across the map. And right now, he doesn't have that count. 153 to 174 supply. Anti-armor missile. Dorito dust the entirety of the army. The Colossi zoning out for what they can, but the Nexus is under fire. Charge lock counter slicing through the reinforcements back at home. Raven overhead. Charge lots from the south side cutting through the siege tanks, and MaxPax will take a decisive victory to the north. But wait, here comes Clem diving directly into the natural. There's not enough energy for the recall. The robotics facility will be gunned down. He shreds it with the Marines. And with that, the ability of MaxPax to add splash damage onto the field. The Stalkers trying to fight. Blink over the top of the shield battery. The Marines are just winning the fight outright. The Colossi coming in. Emotional support field thrown out. And Clem comes back around with the drop. A recall to the north side. Picks up and gets out. So, the total damage. MaxPax lost his robo. He lost some probes. But he keeps the Colossus count intact. He has 3 of them, which means it's not a huge deal to lose the robo at that time. He lost a lot of ability to really put any pressure on the map. And Clem doesn't have a 4th base, and he didn't have an armory done. So, Clem did well, and he still has the threat of drops. But MaxPax, it's just a lot of superficial damage. He can easily replace everything he lost, and he still has the army to carry this forward. But that's a lot of Terran. It's a lot of bio on the field. Second forge is on the way. Clem up 30 supply, but that can always be a bit misleading when it comes to warp gate. And the fact that you warp in like 20 supply every 30 seconds. Obviously, if your economy can keep up. 2-2 upgrades now for Clem, acknowledging this game might go past that initial timing. The army is getting so dangerous to one another with Ghost being added in. EMP, obviously an existential threat to Protoss in general. MaxPax partitioning his army. He's got 78 probes, which is quite high in this scenario, which means his army supply maximum will actually be severely, not severely, but a little lower than Clem's. What? The Marines? Well, that's a bit disrespect. They look at the charge lots, they're like, whatever. Start shooting at the Nexus and force a cancel, despite the charge lots literally just slicing up their faces. MaxPax's 5th is denied, while Clem takes a 4th. Both players nearly maxed out. We got a Dark Shrine. A Shrine to Dark, always a strong call. And Disruptors, the double Ds of destruction. Disruptors and Dark Templar, but they're not here yet. MaxPax picking up fight at the 4th base. Vikings overhead. Where are the medevacs? Only a couple with this army, so stims could be pretty devastating. All right, a few more coming up. Vikings overhead. One Colossus will tumble. Guardian Shield eliminated. It's just Stalkers and Colossi, and the sheer weight of the bio is bearing down. The Colossi will be knocked down. The bio army can be replaced with ease, and the Marauders are continuing over the map. Charge lock counterattack attempted, but Clem with a decisive victory, and he killed key parts of the army. A drop was shut down at the natural. This counterattack will keep Clem at bay for a while longer. But MaxPax bit off way more than he could chew, which is not hard to do when you don't even have a mouth as Protoss. Colossus and Disruptor in production simultaneously. DT Blink is on the way. +3 ground weapons and +1 armor, which just completed. Meanwhile, Clem has finished up 2-2 infantry weapons and armor. He's almost maxed out. There's no reason to be sitting back any longer. In fact, it's sometimes worse to sit back, because you want your reinforcements to deal with counterattacks. If you're maxed out, you're not building anything, which can make that kind of situation difficult. DT slicing up a couple. He can see it, but he can't kill it. Well, I guess he could fight with SCVs. That's probably not ideal. DT taken down. Meanwhile, the main army headed north. And just EMP whipped out. Disruptor shot, parts the Red Sea. Eats a single Marine. Another Marauders take it on the chin. And he needs more army here, but the double drop over to the right is drawing so much supply away. Charge lots coming in yet again. Another Disruptor shot. Oh, a tough working relationship. A single Colossus. Not going to survive very many Viking volleys at all. And this Nexus will be taken down as Clem just throwing his weight around. Just crushes the Nexus. And that is a decisive victory. MaxPax unable to compete on the field. Another Ruptor shot settles for a Widow Mine. Doesn't have any more shots, but Clem doesn't have any energy on those medevacs, so it's actually going to be quite a tough fight here. Vikings hit the deck. Always odd to have Vikings dodging Disruptor shots. But recalls over to the right flank. Charge lots make one very dead Marine, but the rest of the army going to come in to avenge it. And MaxPax is crumbling. He needs a couple Dream Ruptor hits. But I fear, even then, Clem is sinking his bank into command centers. Disruptor gets popped. Colossi with this, but the Vikings are coming down from the north side. In order to deal with it, pops right back into the air to deal with the Colossi. Nearly 100 supply lead. MaxPax is broken. And he's, well, he's not actually broke as well. But there's no amount of units he can put on the field at this point. Clem has played a near-perfect game. For every battle he lost, he made sure the war was going better. The Ghosts take it out in the main. Couple Vikings on the deck. GG, Clem with a decisive victory in Game 1 and tying things up after MaxPax's victory in the winner's bracket. Oof. Sometimes Clem, and recently he's been able to do it more and more often, when it really matters, he just cranks it up several notches. And we know MaxPax can compete with him, but it just it just didn't look like remotely enough. So hopefully, in game 2, MaxPax is able to find that same dial for himself. God. I guess the fight with the Colossi, where he didn't quite have... Trying to pick a fight with most of your army against most... Clem just had more supply, because MaxPax had 80 workers against Clem's 60. Usually the way you deal with it is by sending out charge lock counterattacks, DTs. You're not going to really fight a Ghost, Viking, Bio army with just Colossi and Stalkers and a few sentries. Even on even army supply. With similar upgrades, no. It's not going to happen. It's just math does not work that way. I apologize for math, I guess. But I think MaxPax was looking at his maxed out army. He's like, I gotta pack my bags and go somewhere. But it wasn't gonna be it. And from there, it was almost literally an uphill battle. But we know that MaxPax can compete. And sometimes, honestly, Clem looks lost. That's the nature of Terran versus Protoss. Unfortunately, after you've seen the kids' table, everyone else just looks old. And that's because they are. No offense. But, the different, like, there's Hero versus Beyond, which looks like two functional alcoholics debating politics. And, like, okay, but do you have to say these things out loud? It's like, no, watch this build. It's like, okay, Grandpa, we don't do Proxy Marauder anymore. It's like, back in my day, Proxy Marauder was the best build. It's like, okay, Beyond. And then, of course, Hero. But it really does feel like a generational gap with MaxPax and Clem over here being Anakin Skywalker versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Hero versus Beyond being Anakin Skywalker versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, but like in the original series. The like, you know how in this case, I'm not sure who Obi-Wan Kenobi is and who is Darth Vader. But I digress. I'll let the scholars in the comment section debate. If you had to choose, is Hero Darth Vader? I think yes. Actually, the more I think about it, the more clear that is to me. But no, save the SCV yet again. These are important questions that we ask, realizing that yet again, Clem has gone for 1 Rax expand, meaning there isn't going to be super hyper aggression for at least a couple minutes. Two adepts now. Okay, well, a couple seconds. The dance begins. The dance of death. Adept shut down, but he does keep things busy. It's going to be a Whittle Mine drop this time around. Clem with the kind of backline bunker. That's less of a I need to wall off and more of a your blink stalkers are super annoying bunker. That's the intent of having it further back than the ramp wall. And blink being chronoed now. Robo on the way again. And third base. MaxPax sticking with his metaphorical guns to counter Clem's much more real ones. Double mine drop. Blink will be done right around the time this hits the mineral line. But are there enough stalkers in position could deal with it? But will they be? The Spylon spots it. He already used... Oh, there's the blink. Might be able to actually take out the medevac, which would be a huge move at this stage. Ooh, ends up getting a stalker. Gonna offer up the sacrifice. But, oh, Hellion just kind of ran in. Ends up killing 2 probes. The medevac made it out for now. There's a Raven behind. It's very similar to the previous game. This time around, the Raven's heading across the map. Is that the observer in the main? Indeed it is. Wow, slaps down an auditor. He's like, I guess. In the mineral line. We got the triple threat on the way for Clem, who's made quite a bulwark in the main to box out the Blink Stalkers. Medevac, MaxPax spots it, knocks it out of the sky. Delayed death animation from the first boost in. Robo Bay on the way. And that Raven is back at home, which means it's not... I mean, that Raven is on the other side of the map. It's not back at home to help spot for observers. It's very clear. I'm sure Clem knows there's an observer over. The question is whether he cares enough to deal with it. Sometimes that can work for you. Here comes the Bioforce trying to time it out so it gets across the map as the triple threat finishes. The Medevac boosting forward. He's using it to try to Oh, Clem. He's using it to micro against the units being hit by Blink Stalkers, which is a dangerous game indeed, but he ends up killing another one of the Stalkers, just chasing the army down. Here comes some charge lots, though. Emotional support field. Guardian shield, definitely helpful, but there's not that many units here. Warping in some more charge lots on the high ground, coming down for another route. Trying to drag that Widow Mine in. Will eat a shot. Another one. Blinks out of it. Stalker came from the back, but Marauder's being cut off. That Raven heads for the natural, looking for something. Charge lots running by. Might be able to take out the Raven. And... oh! Barely. Meanwhile, Nevermore. Shut down. MaxPax holding. Clem looking dangerous, but I think MaxPax has stabilized. And if Clem stays around too much longer, he runs the risk of getting run over by the charge lots. There's a Colossus done. +1 ground weapons is nearly completed for MaxPax, which will be a big part of pushing this army away. And with the Colossus now in a precarious position, that single mine buys just enough time. And, oh, there's no vision. The Quadra dropped towards the main. Will he recall? Does he have energy? He does. Clem spots it. Will juggle back. And now the Reaper wall used against him. Gonna lose one pylon. Doesn't get anything meaningful depowered. Single charge lot spots that Clem has finally taken his third base. But MaxPax has done a great job keeping this... oh no, the Colossus! He opened up the... no! Oh no! So because the Reaper wall was opened up, the Colossus spotted a path it could walk down. Little did we know it was a Colossus corralling pylon as opposed to a Reaper wall. Oh my. What a disastrous turn of events for MaxPax. That first Colossus given up almost for free in such an odd scenario that's impossible to predict. I don't think either player expected that, but obviously one suffering a lot more than the other. Viking knocked down, but okay, one Colossus. Extended thermal lance down, but Clem just pounds the Nexus into cancellation. Another force field optimistic, another Nexus attempted, but well, it's building during all this. The Colossus dealing with it. Meanwhile, charge lots at the back. He scans. Nope, there's no DTs. I guess they were just scary. It's almost a reflex. Couple Marines left behind. Stalkers on the high ground. The Widow Mines will be dealt with. No drilling claws usually in this matchup unless you really need it. Colossus on its own, but this time around, it's not going to be enough. Clem really leaning on the afterburners here to keep him away from MaxPax's army, but MaxPax is stabilized across the board. He's going to get that ambitious fourth Nexus that he laid down mid-fight. +2 ground weapons on the way. Now we're looking to see if MaxPax can afford anything else. Like a second Robo, a Dark Shrine, a second Forge. The margins are so incredibly thin between these two. Oh, he's retargeting. He keeps retargeting the Widow Mines, which is some of the jankiest micro in the game, in order to make sure they don't get drawn out by the obvious blink bait there. But MaxPax putting himself in a strong position, but a precarious one as well. Clem is on either side. Guardian shield used. That's a lot of bio coming down. A Colossus dangerously close. Wanders a little too far forward. And deja vu. Yet again, the Colossus is left out and hung out to dry. Some Charizards coming in to reinforce. Only one Colossus remains. The Marauders start stepping forward. And MaxPax's army will crumble. Clem hammers it into the units lost tab. And yet again, MaxPax goes too far. He dug too deep, and he dug too greedily. And now, can he get out of this situation? Clem is coming. 30 supply lead. He has the army. He has the upgrades. There's no advantage for MaxPax besides his defensive position, and I don't know if that's enough. Small charge log counter. Gonna cut through some of the mines and SCVs as well, but with Vikings overhead, he's threatening. His Nexus gonna be taken out. EMP kills off an observer. The drop into the main, an obvious choice, but that doesn't make it less effective. He blinks back, manages to take down one. That Colossus in a precarious position, and Clem will knock it away. I don't know if he finished it, but it comes back, takes a sip of the shield battery. The drops zoning out for now. Meanwhile, Probe's vulnerable. He needs to crush this. The Vikings overhead. The Stalkers need to focus on the Vikings. It's not going to be enough. He loses another Colossus. He's lost 5 in this game. Almost every single one knocks out the Vikings, though. MaxPax actually evens up the supply. Clem dove in, and he didn't quite get the killing blow, but this Colossus implodes under the fire of the Marauders. The drop at the back. The charge lots are boxed out. I don't... He literally cannot attack with the charge lots. These units were walled in until Clem ripped through and dealt with it. I think +3 ground weapons denied. And the momentum of the Terran army. It looks like too much. This time, MaxPax again losing key parts. Well, the Colossi. That was the key parts. There's just... Gateway units are not going to be enough, not without a much greater focus on them. He's going to get run down. Clem, another one. Bites the dust. 2-1 now. That feels like a critical failure there. Rolling a D20 and coming up with your Colossus died because it tripped down the former Reaper Wall pylon location. That... It feels like one of those things that indicates nothing is going your way right now. I might not be giving Clem enough credit that he predicted it, but he certainly is one to dive on an opportunity with everything he has decisively. MaxPax is the same, it's just those opportunities not really opening up for him. And part of it is putting yourself in the right position creates said opportunities. And Clem is so mobile, so on the field all the time. He always has a medevac or a Raven or something to take advantage of a tiny lapse in vision, in information, in army. God, he's so good. It's annoying and impressive. But again, thank you to Wardi. This is the culmination of the $2,500... I want to say that's right. $2,500 Wardi Spring Tournament. Maybe I'll do a video soon. The videos never do very well if I make it the focus of it, but there's a bunch of community tournaments. There's still the World Cup this year, but that's kind of it. DreamHack Dallas is coming up, but from those of you for the great state of Texas, like myself, metaphorically, obviously, to Europeans. That's what they think, apparent. Don't know why, but I digress. A whole bunch of community tournaments. I think soon, since we're kind of getting an idea of what they all look like, but we have Wardi's 2025 series, where he's going to be putting on a kind of a WCS sort of situation, with multiple sorts of tournaments throughout the year, more than just like the monthly or seasonal championships. So I'm really looking forward to that. There's the Revival Star League from Tasteless and crew in Korea, which has already been funded at over $10,000 a month and is going to put on a GSL-style tournament on a monthly basis, though online for the most part, including, I believe, they already have Cyril playing, which is an achievement in and of itself. And then there is GSL itself, which unfortunately is not as comprehensive. It's going to be essentially a couple weekends and then another couple weekends, but the qualifiers have already happened for Season 1. That's at the end of May. And then we still have Pig putting on his Pig Fests, and that apparently is going to be every month or so, which I'm very much enjoy. I enjoy good games for the fans. And then Comeback TV, the French organization, with TKL doing Monday night weeklies, and the Korean StarCraft 2 League every couple weeks on Friday nights with, it's not just Koreans, but it's held on the Korean server at a good time for Koreans, which is kind of rare when it comes to weekly tournaments. As well as Cranky Ducklings. You can find pretty much everything I'm describing here on Patreon to support them. Just look up pretty much what I'm saying. But Wardi first, because this is his tournament. Cranky Ducklings, supporting a lot of smaller, more community-oriented tournaments. There's the Oceania Championships, OSC. I'm not sure if that's the correct acronym. Doing the King of the Hills, their own sort of league, and a lot of other community stuff. And I'm definitely forgetting some. What I'm trying to say is it'll probably take a video on itself. This is a lot to keep track of, even for me, whose entire job it is to keep track of it. But rumors of StarCraft 2's demise have been greatly exaggerated for about 15 years now. So, okay, more like 12-ish technically. But so what I want to say is thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Game 3-4. Game 4. We're including MaxPax's extra point for winning the winner's bracket match. Which we should, because if MaxPax gets the 4 first, it doesn't matter exactly how many. But the Widowmine drop is coming across. And just sitting back because it was obviously spotted. A Robo Bay rush out of MaxPax this time around. Opting for tech very early on, as opposed to trying for the charge lots. Interesting. This is something fresh here. And, oh, he targets the observer with the... Is that a Banshee? Do you know that's a Clem, are you aware that you're building a Banshee? In this economy? He's not even getting cloak. Takes out the Reaper Hellion. Widowmine drop finally comes in. The sacrifices are offered. Medevac. We'll get the second mine, but the first one actually gets yanked into the Medevac. He's just building a Banshee. And here comes Clem. So there's not gonna... The Colossus is being chrono boosted out. Is he bringing the Tactiboys? No Tactiboys with this one. Shield batteries. Oh no. MaxPax is now getting charged, but the reinforcements cut off. MaxPax has almost no units. Going for a Colossus does kind of preclude having more gates. The third base under heavy fire. The Banshee is just also here, just adding some DPS. This is clearly intended on undercutting any sort of early tech play. Did he spot the Robo Bay? He did not, but honestly, it wouldn't be terrible against the charge lots, but it definitely wouldn't be as good. I feel like this is Clem playing 2 MaxPax right now. There are 3 siege tanks. The Blink Stalker's at the back, cuts off one. Charge, still not done. Extended thermal lands pretty far off. Another Colossus in production. Energy recharge on the sentry. This is going to be it. This is the best opportunity before he gets into a critical position. Colossus takes a volley from the tanks. He's just waiting out charge either way. The probe's in a precarious position, but... Oof. The probe's just getting blasted away. And reinforcements are coming across. Well, I think this is quite a demonstration in how important getting charge instead of Colossi is. As MaxPax has been forced to wait until charge is done to even think about fighting. And Clem just backs off. He's now got stim and combat shield completed. MaxPax ready to crush the army that's just... It's gone. He had no vision overhead. All his robo time was used on those Colossi. And the Observer likely would have been taken down with the help of the Raven as well. So Clem, he already has his third. Bio Army spots the Colossi, but the pincer maneuver is coming in. MaxPax knows he can feel it. He can see it. He can smell it. He can't taste it, no mouths, but... Oh. Clem doesn't seem to be slowing down. He's heating up. MaxPax tries the quick tech, and he gets cut down. Oh. A tough game. Oh, no. We're staring down the barrel of effectively a clean sweep. Clem is on fire right now. And MaxPax unable to do anything but fan the flame so far. Match point for the world champion. Game 5. One thing MaxPax has continued to do is third base blink. He has not put the heavy blink pressure on that is almost tied to him right now. I don't know if something has shifted, like, between these two. I'm not sure how the winner's bracket match that MaxPax won. But he has not attempted any all-in blink or really heavy blink pressure. He's done the Warp Prism with a few Stalkers dangling around sort of plays, but he has not. Another thing, no Stargate. The way Hero's been challenging Clem is just by being Hero, but also with things like Stargate play. Not that Stargate is necessarily great in all scenarios, but you have to keep your options open. As Protoss, it's all in StarCraft 2, it's always felt like you have to have another card to play. And MaxPax keeps playing very similar cards. We'll see if he mixes it up with it all on the line. Another one, that's what's crazy to me, is these are all 1-Rax expands. Historically, this is the most vulnerable to blink pressure. You just don't have as much infrastructure. You don't have as much production by the time the blink stalkers come in. And that's why Clem historically, finally. That's why Clem has historically gone for 2 gas into quick tech. Because 1-Rax expand is just... You're going to have a bad time. That's the craziest thing so far is that Clem is going for 1-Rax expand in every game. But MaxPax seems to have other intent. What? Gate? Just a gate, yeah. Just a 3 gate. Huh. Not a blink pressure at all, just a good old-fashioned gateway all-in. Spots warp gate being chronoed. I don't know if that's a giveaway. Honestly, I'm not... It's not rare for warp gate to be chronoed, and he didn't see if there's a twilight, but he is looking around. He's getting a little suspicious, it seems. Hasn't built another bunker. There's a cyclone on the way. Probe hunted down. SCV saved by the bunker. This Reaper is acting like he knows something's up. Blink is on the way. Just 3 adepts. I don't... This is not good. This is not doing anything. And Clem found the proxy because that much was obvious. That's... This is not going well. Stalkers are warped in. It feels like he's just feeding now. Reported! Oh my. This is a comprehensive tactical beatdown here. Wow. This was worse. I gotta put on my caster hat. Okay. And now MaxPax retreating back, but gets to the high ground just in time, retreating from the cyclone. 2 more stalkers come up to deal with it. Reaper grenade goes out, but dodges away from yet another cyclone lock-on. Meanwhile, the siege tanks are coming up, but there's no high ground vision. The medevac high ground scan just to make sure he has that vision. But Blink is on the way. MaxPax still has a lot of options. Going to try with the Blink Stalkers. Loses one of his gateways. No 3rd Nexus on the way, but the Stalkers have Blink. The Cyber Core is down. No more Stalkers for now, but saves the Cyclone. Locks onto the pylon. Blink Stalker still looking for an opportunity, but he has to rebuild his basic tech. The proxy gate is still powered, but 2 siege tanks. Ready to move forward. Charge is on the way. 3rd base for MaxPax. So he's still on the ropes here. Clem. Up 20 supply. Putting all his production together, and now caster hat off. And it's not over. Okay. MaxPax holds. Clem doesn't want to press the issue when he could be fighting into an overwhelming amount of units, but I can't help but feel like this is just a similar situation, but MaxPax even worse off. All right, back on, back on. It's match point. MaxPax chrono boosting out his Colossi. Gotta get the Blink Stalkers forward. Needs some big pickoffs in order to bring this game back. And might be able to find him. There's a medevac. Blunk's underneath. Takes it out of the sky. There's no stim to chase. 1 Stalker, a worthy trade. Gonna pre-siege just in case, making sure the Stalkers don't get anywhere close again. There's a few Marines on the back line just in case. The Reaper is still alive. Scouts out the 3rd. But MaxPax will have charge. He's working on extended thermal lance. 5 more gates in production, which is about the most you can afford at this stage of the game. Forced to retreat. Siege tanks in range. Those Colossi are absolutely critical to deal with this. Stim and combat shield. Nearly completed. There's no reason for Clem to hold back past this point. Observer being chased down as the Raven spots it for the Marines. Picks up a medevac immediately. So Clem, not looking to get greedy, but instead... And MaxPax finally reaching out for the Templar Archives. Something we haven't seen this entire series so far. Some attempts at Dark Templar, but that's a very different vibe. Especially according to the Templar, but I won't get into that. Oh, slow warping. Not a super pilot on the corner. The other one barely in range, but making it a lot more difficult to deal with this than it probably should be. And actually, the Marines are still winning the fight, which is very inconvenient overall. But the Colossi still standing tall. Force fields, optimistic. Widowmine hits the Immortal. Marauders hit the Colossi. And the supply plummets precipitously. Oh no. One Colossus left, eating siege tank fire. Widowmines on the front lines, enough to take out the charge lots. Might be able to draw some of that fire in. No, he gets caught up. The probes are pulled! And that's never a great sign. The emotional support field, but the Colossi immediately targeted the siege tanks, withering fire. And MaxPax may defend this attack, but at what cost? 16 probes dead. 69 supply is not a nice place for Protoss to be. Against 124, the world champion. He's warping in 4 High Templar, which have a high chance of looking very weak in the face of this army. Clem is making this series look more one-sided than a Mobius strip. Making it look like MaxPax doesn't have the second highest win rate of anyone against him. Second hero. The main base. Templar Archives will be taken down not long after it completes for the first time, and possibly the last time in the series. MaxPax going through the breadcrumbs of mines on both sides of the map. And Clem, all he has to do is hold the counterattack. Guardian Shield locks in the Marauders, tries to pick him up, flounders a bit, goes for the third base. Still, the army in the main is struggling to clean up what Clem has, but MaxPax going into a base trade, probably his best case scenario here. That one Colossus trying to target it. Micro's back. 16 SCVs dead. Meanwhile, more Widowmines on the backline. Manages to take another one out. Still, that drops in the main. He keeps running towards the Colossus. It's too much. Clem claims victory in the Wardi Spring Championship. 4-1. A decisive victory for Clem, bringing us to our bonus anti-spoiler game, which is Clem versus Beyond, with Clem as Protoss. So, but a decisive victory for the now Protoss in the red. That was one of the most comprehensive beatdowns I've seen. MaxPax has this year swept Clem in series, but I don't think it's ever looked quite as decisive. MaxPax with almost nothing with which to challenge him. There were only a couple times it even looked like a competition there. I don't know. I feel like it's partly Clem being near perfect, and when he's good, he's almost impossible to beat. In MaxPax, not really until the final game, even thinking of getting aggressive. Most of the time, when Clem is challenged directly, he still does well, but that's when the cracks begin to show, as you only have so many units to work with as Terran early on. We'll see how Clem handles Protoss versus Terran. So, it is no longer a fluke or a choice. Clem does not play Terran versus Terran anymore. He has chosen to play Protoss versus Terran in pretty much 100% of his professional matches for the last few months. It is a higher win rate and higher likelihood for him, especially with all that practice against players like MaxPax, than playing TVT. And nobody, including the viewers, seems to like mirror matchups, really. Most players, it's their weakest matchup. It's the most likelihood they get caught by a arguably lesser player. So Clem has avoided that weakness by becoming our first truly biracial player. And arguably the third best Protoss in the world. At least in Protoss versus Terran. And since we do not currently have the technology for Clem to play with himself, against himself, his competition when it comes to Terrans is significantly reduced from MaxPax and Hero. So it does create an interesting statistical conundrum. Reaper caught. That little Reaper wall there. So choosing to go for the Reaper wall. And Clem has had so much experience. Has, again, so much practice against the very top Protoss. You can really see how he's just channeling MaxPax when he plays. Hopefully not the way MaxPax just played against him. But in general. Honestly, I think the way MaxPax just played would beat anyone else. Even Beyond, who's still the third or fourth best Terran out there. Well, maybe it depends on the day, maybe even higher than that. It's Clem, and then there's a big gap. And then it's like Beyond Maru when he shows up, but it feels like Maru hasn't showed up for a while, even when he's played. Beyond Cure. Gumiho sometimes, but definitely not in TVP. He has real issues in TVP. It's kind of sad. But there's such a disparity. That's why I say it's like, besides the Hero versus Beyond matches, it's like watching an entire other matchup. It's like watching professional versus college. But we'll see here. Cloak Banshee. Meanwhile, Clem doing an almost direct copy of the build we saw MaxPax use most of the game. Robo on the way. Third gas geyser. Cloak Banshee is an interesting wrinkle, as Clem will have observers. But observers don't shoot. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, the Banshee's still going to find a way to get critical damage done. And Clem with no shield batteries near the mineral line. And so the Banshee can get a lot of damage done. Third base on the way. Wow, it is almost a direct, like, copy-paste here. But Clem's blink is done at 440. Wow, that is very fast. Charge immediately. Spylon should spot the Banshee. And there's been the Reaper and the Adept, and otherwise, a passive start. I'm giving credit to Beyond, knowing that he'll spot for this Observer. Cloak is completed for the Banshee. It still has its uses, even if it's clear Clem spotted it. He comes all the way home. I guess is a partial defense. So this is kind of a technical defense against Blink Stalkers. So if you take down the Observer, which I'm not sure if Beyond spots and kills the Observer, then the Cloak Banshees can easily deal with the Stalkers themselves. That's not what's happening here, but somehow Clem has slipped the Observer and spotted the entirety of the base. Stim and +1 on the way. Are we gonna see? Well, this is the Rubble Bay timing, Clem, right? If we're directly copy-pasting MaxPax's build, this is when you start the Rubble Bay. Thank you. I actually like that he's putting all his tech inside the main instead of at the edges. We saw that used against MaxPax with Clem's drops, where sometimes those medevacs get into places they really don't belong. And I don't really agree with Protoss like walling off the back of their mineral line, because Terran units, and this is true, have guns. While as you have a bunch of dudes with laser swords and like these little piddly stalker lasers. So leaving them an opportunity to effectively wall off your own units doesn't seem like a great idea. The observer spots the bait. I don't know if Beyond was trying to bait exactly that. I'm not sure what the purpose would be. Is he? Oh my god, Beyond. Wow. Really? Who does that? He brought the Cyclone all the way across the map to snipe the observer. And there's a small chance, well, at least he keeps him anchored back at home. Wow, we've gone almost 7 minutes, no rush, but here comes quite a tank push. An observer from Clem will spot it on the other side. What a guy. And the Cyclone will live, because who does that? Like, what is he doing? Colossus on the way, but there's a lot of charge lots underneath. All coming together, finally. But that's a lot of charge lots already. Like, the Blink Stalker's on top. Colossus overhead. Clem. There's no observer, so the Banshees are doing the most damage here out of anything else. I think he's recalling an observer. Yep. If the Banshees weren't here, this is a decisive win for Clem. But instead, it's a strong victory. He ends up taking significantly more damage than he would have if the Banshees weren't involved. But at the same time, throwing this back and keeping the Colossus alive. Now we'll see if he makes the same mistake of overextending into a Terran army that can easily crush him. There is the single Whittle Mine, but Prairie Dog Micro. Those Banshees still overhead. Clem jamming himself into this corner, trying to bait Beyond into a bad fight, but it's unclear. He's starting to just hit. He has an Immortal underneath, very helpful against the Marauders, adding a bunch of damage. And Clem just kind of shoves Beyond's base out of the way. Extended Thermal Lance isn't done. It's just one Colossus here. He's going to pull the boys. Knocks out one Banshee, but the Vikings are still overhead. Marauders will catch the Immortal. The Stalkers, not quite enough to one-shot the Viking. And another Colossus! Oh no, it happened so easily! Another Colossus is caught! A poor rally. The Vikings, not quite enough to kill the final one, but honestly, the Banshee can hunt it down, and Clem really doing a great MaxPax impression. I gotta give him credit. Loses his Colossi in a decisive fight that he probably shouldn't have still been in. Beyond, I love it. He's forced to move his third base. He's like, I'll just go for the goal. Why not? There's an observer back home to defend, but those Banshees continually paying off. The Banshees making the difference here so far. I'm gonna try to go through the sand spires. It's a bit of a annoying endeavor, to say the least. And the charge lots are gonna be cut down. Now good luck getting, well, they get back through them a little easier. Beyond funneling through like a Plinko board here. Clem does have 4 bases. Another Colossus overhead. The Viking count is quite low. He's not making any more Vikings either, but one Colossus is not that scary in the grand scheme of things. No armory for Beyond. The Marauders are kind of stuck. Oh, wow. Getting grilled on the way out. Both sides filtering through into the fire. Somewhat literal. I don't know if either player should keep fighting here, but they seem intent on doing so. Emotional support field. Beyond's army has been cut down to almost pure Marauder, just the way he likes it. So many games this happens with Beyond. Clem at dead even supply. That single Colossus. Lighten things up. More micro. Whittle Mines. Shots drawn out. Clem shoving his way in again. Another Colossus making its way across. It's pure Marauder here. +1 armor about to complete. He's working on +3 weapons. Clem about to have an upgrade advantage. But Beyond is closing in on the armor himself. 2 Colossi. trying to maximize the damage and minimize the risk. The Banshee's still finding work. There's no observer here. He could recloak the Banshee. Yeah, there's no observers on the field. In fact, it's... Oh, the boys are pulled against Colossi of all things, chasing down. And the Marauders, he might be able to just target it. He doesn't do so. The first volley of extended thermal lances, finding a lot of damage, but the Colossi taking a lot, knocked down by the Marauders. The Banshee cloaks. He has no detection. It's happening again. Oh my. Beyond. Giving Clem maybe more credit than he's due. The Banshee is working on the Colossus. Looks like it will kill it. Another Colossus is trundling down. He's chasing down the Vikings. This fight just streaming back and forth across the field. Widow Mines are good. Colossus gets one more swipe, taken down. Yet another Colossus on the way. Still no observers. He has no... Another Colossus. No! Clem! Wow, really doing his best to honor MaxPax's memory here. Meanwhile, though, Beyond just doesn't have the unit count to defend. Clem just keeps streaming in gateway units, and Beyond has not been cost-effective enough to stop them. He doesn't have the upgrades on the way, even though Clem keeps losing Colossi left, right, and literally center. He's lost 5 of them so far. The mules will keep the economy going, but the upgrades are going to be too much. You cannot... Gateway units with a 3 upgrade advantage are more than enough to deal with a similar amount of bio, especially with the medevacs nearly out of energy. Usually bio units have that efficiency. They have the sheer DPS density. They have the micro ability. But the numbers, they don't lie, and they spell disaster right now for Beyond, unless he's able to take one more decisive fight. 2, 3 upgrade advantage for Clem. Beyond with no sort of follow-up. There is an observer in the fray. The medevacs are out of energy. The Viking count is high enough, but that's why the medevacs are out of energy. He hasn't rebuilt any in quite a while. The Marauder Ball. Colossus will live for now. Beyond trying to get close enough to hit it with a Marauder. Not gonna find it. Clem still powering forward. Gonna split off a couple Marauders, knock down the Colossus, but the charge lots themselves are more than a contest. As I say it, what a brawl between these two. Oh my. EMP. Beyond still with the mass Marauder plays, just crushing the Stalkers. But the charge lots keep coming in. If Clem didn't have such a decisive upgrade advantage, Beyond might have been able to power through, but Clem is adding up. Wow. Pulling a Clem with that one. Beyond just taps out without even a fight going on, deciding he's done. He's out of momentum. He's out of chances. Clem's just going to have more of the same thing with better upgrades. He just finished the... It doesn't matter. Well... Clem showing us how it's done, and showing us what MaxPax is... This is our best example of MaxPax's style of Protoss. You know, I guess we could just watch MaxPax versus Beyond for that. I was about to say something real dumb. But Clem, truly being MaxPax's greatest disciple here, and still strong enough to power through Beyond, though it was precariously close. One stubbed Colossus toe away from disaster, but eventually the upgrades are enough. And Beyond, without the micro of his metaphorical son Clem, is not able to compete. So hopefully you enjoyed the grand finals for what it was. Quite a display of Clem's prowess this time around in WardiTV's Spring Championship. And make sure to check out the WardiTV 2025 series. Jimmy, please for once have it in the description. Can you not forget? Anyways. If you got the means of motivation, though, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our mule tier patrons for the extra minerals. Big Jiggy Devin, Door Mario, random guy in the chat suit. Go ahead and just still enjoy to everyone. And I hope I made your day just a little bit better. Congratulations, Clem. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.